Hi, I'm Alexis Merrill reporting from Channel 99 News with a special report on spam and the pork industry in South Korea. Now, when I mention the word spam, two things probably come to mind. One, spam in your email, and two, the famous pork canned meat spam. Did you know that South Korea is the largest consumer of spam outside the U.S.? Let's take a look.
There is hardly a more maligned meat than spam.
Spam, 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 spam. Hormel's new miracle meat in a can.
But if you think it's just a culinary punchline, you haven't spent enough time here.
Now let's begin our special report. My stepbrother, Jackson, was definitely my biggest inspiration for creating this report and focusing on the pork industry. He moved to Seoul, Korea back in February and is teaching South Korean elementary school children English for over a year. Jackson, as an American, was very surprised to see the South Korean culture highly value spam compared to American culture. To begin, pork is one of the top agricultural products in South Korea. This table represents the top 5 agricultural products South Korea produces. Pork is ranked as the second largest agricultural product behind rice. Livestock is extremely important in their agricultural sector and accounts for a large portion of their overall agricultural industry. Pork accounted a total of 8.3% of the total agricultural receipts and then increased to 10.6% by 2008. Now let's move on to the production of pork in South Korea. South Korea is ranked 11th in the world pork production market. They produce over 1 million metric tons of pork every single year. Over the past decade, their pork market has fluctuated. South Korea used to use small farms for production, but have now moved to larger scale farms and integration systems. These farms work with better housing facilities and pay more attention to hygiene, which results in higher production rates. The production of pork accounts for approximately 30% of South Korea's agricultural livestock sector. South Korea has experienced several growth and decline periods in the pork industry. In 2006 and 2010, an unexpected mouth and foot disease outbreak struck hog farms throughout South Korea. Each outbreak lasted for almost 3 years. The 2010 outbreak forced them to cull over 1/3 of their total pig inventory, which was 3.3 million hogs. The total number of pig slaughtering increased dramatically to 10.84 million. The disease was so severe that it caused 33% decrease in the amount of hog farms in South Korea. The pork supply in South Korea was reduced significantly. This graph explains South Korea's most recent rebound from the foot and mouth disease outbreak in late 2009 to 2010. The red line going down between the years 2009 through 2011 signifies the period where South Korea lost a majority of their hogs. Pork prices increased rapidly after the outbreak, which inspired producers to quickly rebuild. As a result of the foot and mouth disease outbreak, South Korea was importing very large amounts of pork. From 2006 to 2011, South Korea was importing 33% of the United States' total pork production. This graph shows when South Korea began to import more pork than produce it. During this time frame, they were bumped to the 5th largest importer of pork in the world. 640,000 tons of pork were imported in South Korea, which was a 68% rise. South Korea has made a major comeback in the pork industry since the foot and mouth outbreak. The South Korean pork producers have rebuilt the herd to 9.92 million. In 2012, South Koreans consumed over 1.08 million tons of pork. The demand for pork and pork products has increased significantly. Since the prices have decreased, more actions have been taken to vaccinate the hogs and reduce the risk of contamination of any diseases. Over the past 4 years, the overall South Korean meat consumption has increased by 22%, with pork as one of the most favorable choices. South Koreans even eat all the parts of the pork, including the intestines. This graph indicates the total amount of meat consumed in South Korea. Pork has remained one of the most favorable choices for a very long time. It shows the decrease of pork consumption around the time of the first foot and mouth disease in 2006, and then consumption increasing around 2008 when South Korea was importing large amounts of pork. Pork is one of the most popular meats consumed in South Korea. South Korea is also one of the largest consumers of pork products, such as Spam. South Korea is the largest producer and consumer of Spam in the world. It was first introduced during the Korean War.
One of the country's favourite dishes, budae-jjigae, or army stew. All these restaurants here specialise in it. In fact, this street is famous for it because it's just round the corner from a US military base. Ho Gi-suk claims to have invented army stew back in 1954, when someone brought her smuggled Spam, sausages and bacon from the local army base. Mrs. Ho made them into a spicy soup.
Yeah, it's probably the most desirable gift one could receive, and to help create that image we use famous actors in our commercials. It has a unique status here. Anyone who gets a Spam gift set gets a warm feeling in their heart.
Where else would television commercials show a young couple ditching their romantic dinner to head home for a plate of Spam? Spam, the stuff of jokes, wartime memories, and here in South Korea, a low-key national love affair. Since Spam was launched in America before the Second World War, more than 7 billion of these chunky little cans have rolled off production lines. South Koreans are now the biggest consumers of it outside the US. There's classic Spam, mild Spam, bacon Spam, garlic Spam. If you've got Spam, the slogan on the can proclaims, you've got it all.
Thank you. This is Alexis Merrill reporting live from Channel 99 News for our special segment, Spam and the South Korean Pork Industry.